Hello, my name is Jody. My husband David John and I have a small farm in the panhandle of North Idaho. These are our stories and adventures, and today David John takes over, so on to what he has planned. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.
Well, alright, today's adventure is going to be, we're going to take a couple of canning jars, which we got a few of them popped out here. We're going to put some radishes in them and we're going to pickle them. So this is just going to be me kind of just moving along with the process, and we'll share it with you today. So just pulling off brand new out of the case quart jars. We're going to fill them up with some fun stuff. Still a shortage of these little boogers out there. Hard to find any that are American made. These are Kerr. And then even harder to find seems to be back down in here. So I'm not sure where we got cut off there. The battery was doing something wonky. But back to the conversation was the unfortunately the American name brands, are getting hard to find. Was hard to find, however you want to say it. But even harder to find is the basic part to keep them going, which is the lid. So if you're able to find those, I'd say grab a bunch of them and put them in your pantry. Alright, so what I did is I went and got my brain and we're going to do a double batch of pickling agents. So basically we're looking at 8 cups of water, 4 cups of white vinegar, 4 tablespoons of kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of sugar. We're going to drop some garlic in each one of those and some other spices, which we'll go over, and probably some pepper kernels. So right now we're going to pause it again and we're going to start getting the stuff ready, and then we'll put it in the pan, warm it up, just warm it up so that your salt and all that stuff dissolves, and we'll get ready for the other part, putting them into the jar. So alright, so we got our 8 cups of water in there, and then we're now going to put our vinegar in. So back at you here in a second. Alright, so we're adding our 4 cups of vinegar to our pickling agent. Alright, and our pot is almost completely full, so just big enough pot. Alright, so we got our handy dandy measurer out here. So we're going to do 4 tablespoons of salt. What I've got here is I've got the canning and pickling salt, but you can use kosher salt as well. So we're just going to have to kind of give it a squish here. See where we end up here. There's 2. 3. And there's 4. Alright, so the next ingredient is going to be 2 teaspoons of sugar. So just a cool FYI, C&H now makes sugar in a plastic, almost looks like a coffee can. It stores really well, and you're not opening up a huge bag and it's going to go bad. So again, just 2 of those guys. Alright, And that's our solution for the main part of it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put that on the stove here. We're going to bring it up to a warm temperature so all the salt and sugar dissolve. So get back with you soon. Alright, so what we got going on there is we got an assembly line of jars going in to get sanitized a little bit. And we'll get ready to fill them full of our stuff. So again, just kind of whittling away at it here.
Okay. It's been so long since I've used this camera, I couldn't remember how to turn it on. But like David said, I went through and washed all the jars because you want to make sure that they're clean so you don't get any foreign stuff added into your food which can make you sick or potentially just ruin all your food. And part of the process when you're going through and cleaning your jars is you want to feel around the rim right here on the glass to make sure it's free of any imperfections, any chips, any cracks, which would then make it where it won't seal up when we get the canner going and get these guys sealed up. So while he's finishing this, I'm going to go outside and hopefully the side of the house is in the shade and we'll get our outdoor canning station set up. Okay, so the boardwalk was still in full sun, so rolled up the garage door. Gonna set the canning table out here and do it out here so at least we're in the shade. And we use the bottom part of the propane turkey fryer. I'm gonna show you something I do not recommend that you do. This is just something I've had to, because you can't really modify these because they've got a safety switch that if it's not pushed down, the propane won't flow. And a canning pot is bigger around than the turkey fryer pot. So I'll show you how I get around it. Do not recommend it. If you do this, you need to stay within visual range of your propane burner, just for safety sakes. So right here is the safety switch for the propane burner, and I just take a magnet, and it's a strong enough magnet that it just holds it down. And it has been a year since I've used this. Let's see if I can remember how to start it. I'm gonna need a flamethrower. Be right back. Okay, turn the propane on. Don't need. Okay, now we got propane. Too much. So I did finally get it to light. I just had the pressure coming from the tank, because this is a brand new full tank. Had it too high, it just kept blowing itself out. So I'm just going to turn it up. Don't want it to blow out, but I want it to heat up a little more. So here's my trusty canner, and as you see, it just fits right on the edge of that. That's why I've got to use that magnet that I don't recommend.
Okay guys, so we went out to the garden and we've collected a few things that hopefully the camera's going to get on us, but we're going to, as I jiggle it around. So fresh out of the garden, we got some oregano, and that's way too much oregano, but I just snipped a couple of branches out. So we've got some Thai basil, we got some thyme, we got sweet basil, and a little teeny bit of the we call the red or the purple basil. And then I've got some really woody stalks of chives. So those are just going to add that little bit of onion flavor to it. So what we'll do here is we'll kind of do a little quick lay out the jars and then just try to put an even amount in each jar at this point, and then we'll put the radishes up on top. So I don't have any fresh garlic, so I did get some garlic from the store, and we'll just use those garlic cloves. So, alright, so next step. Alright, so we're just going to take a little bit of each one of these, and we've got half our jars laid out here, and we're just going to just drop a few of them in there.
So I'm just going to get this pan of water on because it needs to come to a boil to put the lids in so we get a good seal.
Well, this is my helper, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Are canning these instead of refrigerating them. And you're going to put your liquid in. You're going to want about 1/4 inch headspace. So we'll put this on the jar there and fill the liquid up to there.
Okay.
So, because if you overfill it, they can explode. Okay, so we've got each one of our little piles here into the jars. Now we're going to add, we'll do the garlic next. We'll just do a clove of garlic in each one. Just a little portion of the black peppercorns. Maybe do 10 of them per jar. Now we have a friend of ours that makes, we'll say, a very hot, unsalted, he calls it Uncle Bob's Hawaiian volcanic seasoning. So the volcanic means it's habanero peppers, so be careful. But we're going to do a little sprinkle of that on each one of these guys. Alright, so these guys, the 6 that I have out here, minus the dog. Yeah, these guys here are ready for the radishes. We'll stuff them down in there and get the, right there, and then after that we'll start putting our pickling agent in. So hold that thought. Okay guys, so what we got here is we've got some radishes that we've basically harvested. We put them in cold water, put them in the refrigerator, just to keep them fairly ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dump them in a bowl. We'll get them ready to go there, and we'll start stuffing the jars here shortly. Okay, so we have several different varieties. When it comes to that, we just did a couple different things there, and we've got them to where they're
basically cut the roots off and they have a little top on them. We're going to leave the tops on them just to see what that does in the pickling. Okay, so what we got is we got our water boiling in front of you for our lids, but we're just starting to stuff these jars evenly with some of the bigger ones and the little smaller ones, and just trying to get them all in there fairly even. We stuffed them down in there, and it kind of gives you an idea of, we want to get them kind of tight so you can finger them down in there. You might want to get a couple more and shove down in where you're not using quite as much of the pickling agent, but that's what it's going to look like. Okay guys, so we've got all of our jars stuffed full of our radishes. Hopefully you can see it in the light there. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take our brine, or our pickling agent, and we're going to pour it in. So as we look into, you can look down in your saucepan and make sure that your salt and your sugar have dissolved, which mine has. So we're ready to just top these guys off, and as Jody was saying, we just want to leave it about down to the bottom of the ring here so that there's enough space for contraction and expansion. About like that. Okay, so we're to the point right now that we're going to put the lids on the jars, and my sous chef here is going to take over from there onto the canning part of it outside that she's got set up. So we're going to put the jars into the boiling water for about a minute.
You said the jars.
Lids, I'm sorry, lids. Lids in the boiling water for about a minute. We'll fish them out and we will put them on top.
And the reason that you want to put it in the boiling water is it softens the wax that's on the lid, so that way you get a good seal on your jars when you're canning, and then once they cool, they vacuum seal. The wax isn't heated up enough, it will either leak in the canner or you won't get a seal after you've done processing them.
Okay, so we're going to take these guys, and there is a tool for this, but right now we're using our tongs. We're going to set it on top there. We're going to grab the ring and we'll line this guy up. We're going to spin it just finger tight once we get it on there. Finger tight, and then just a little bit more, about a quarter, and that's how it goes on there. So again, one of these lids here, we're going to drop on top. Get them straight. Get our ring about finger tight, and then about a quarter turn more. Looking good. Soon outside.
So after a little bit of fight with a brand new full propane tank and it wouldn't stay lit, David John went and got the one off the barbecue, so it doesn't have as heavy of a pressure on it, so it's working. We'll have to remember that when I go to start canning this summer. But the water is almost to a boil. Okay, our pot has come to a boil, so got a towel just to help protect the plastic table. Got our basket for the jars to go in. And you can either set these in the basket and then put it in there, or leave it in there and just drop the basket down.
Just don't touch the basket.
Yeah.
It's hot.
And very slowly lower it down into the boiling water. Show you guys. So there they are. There's about 1.5 inches of water above the cans. You usually would do about 1 inch, 1.5 inches above, but that's what the water is in there. So I'm going to get the lid back on it, set the timer for 20 minutes, and then we'll be back to see what David John's creation looks like. Okay, so it's been 20 minutes. They're all processed. Got the propane tank turned off because we're only going to do this one batch. Tell her it's hot. But normally I would have left the propane on, and we'll just take my jars like this. Use my handy dandy remover tool, but since I'm just doing the one, I'm just going to pull the whole rack out. And just pull them out, let them sit here for a couple minutes. And just because this is how my mom cans, that's where I learned. I'll let them sit here for a couple minutes, then I'll recheck the ring on it to make sure they're nice and snug, and then I'll flip them upside down until they're completely cool. Then flip them back up, and 90% of the time when you're flipping them back up, you hear the pop, meaning that they're sealed. But if nothing else, they sure did turn out pretty. Okay, so it's been a couple hours. The radishes are all sealed up. And no, they didn't pop when I flipped them over, but there's no bubbles, so they are sealed. That's one thing nice about having them upside down while they cool. But didn't that turn out pretty? So thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day and a good week. And until the next video, bye for now.
See ya.